Yeah, hi Steve. Welcome to the latest episode of Funnel Vision.
Thanks for having me. At the end of any deal, somebody like a CFO is going to say, and why are we going to buy it now? Paradoxically, because of AI, the human side of trust is becoming more and more important.
What are you seeing as the impact of AI in sales?
2 years ago, if I got an email that says, "Hi Steve, hopefully you're well, I see you doing this, that and the other, and you probably have these challenges," that would have struck me as, oh, that's really good. Today I get 20 of those a day. I know they're all AI generated. We've gone to a customer and put some kind of pressure on to get an order in. But whenever we do that, we're destroying a bit of trust.
Yeah, hi Steve. Good afternoon. Welcome to the latest episode of Funnel Vision, and thank you for joining us today.
No, thanks for having me.
So we haven't met for a little while, but we first met, 30 years ago, I think it was, which
really?
is probably
Goodness.
a bad place to start any conversation,
Yeah.
isn't it? But at the time I was running a sales team for Apple Centre West London. We had sort of 8 or 10 salespeople selling Macs at that time, mostly to corporates, and we were keen to bring a more formalised structure to our account management and grow the account base and build on the existing customers we had. And you came in and did a really fantastic training course that it was honestly fantastic. That sat with me for a long time around account management. It was on the back of the book that I think you'd written called around Proact and account management methodologies.
Well, the book wasn't out at that stage, but book came out a few years ago.
Followed later.
Yes.
Okay. And where you are in your career, what you're doing now. I know you've obviously had a very successful sort of training and consulting business for a good period of time, and also held senior leadership roles. But could you give us a sort of quick synopsis of your kind of career today?
Okay, you want the 1-minute bio?
Exactly that.
Right. Okay. Well, there's 3 parts to it.
Right.
So the first part was, I went straight from university into a sales role, trainee sales guy, and progressed as a salesman, account manager, got into sales management, some senior sales leadership positions, all in the IT telecoms market.
Right.
So people like Burroughs Machines was my first
my
first employer, but digital equipment, I was there for 10 years, and Apple I worked at. And then I switched. I wanted to run my own business, and I love selling, particularly account management, account planning. So I started my own sales training business, which is, as you said, where we first met.
Okay.
And I did that for a while. That went really well. We did a lot of business in the US, so I eventually sold that business to our US franchisee, which was nice. And then I guess for the last 10 years or so, I've been an independent consultant, coach, trainer, speaker, written a book. And then I'm starting on a new career as well. So I spend about 2/3 of my time doing that kind of stuff.
Okay. The coaching, training,
consulting, training, working with clients. And I love it. I'm very privileged. But I'm also I've got into academia. I'm doing a PhD in the ethics of selling, basically, which is, it's very challenging, but great. I'm learning so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you go into sales in the first place?
Oh, that's a great question. It was much to the disappointment of my parents, I have to say.
Right.
But in those days, I left university, and jobs were fairly easy at that time, and everybody wanted to offer me a job as a trainee manager, or I did a degree in computer science. So I could have joined one of the big manufacturers as a kind of trainee systems analyst, or this company in the middle of London in the West End said, "Would you like to be a trainee sales guy?" And I went to see them, and the office was buzzing, and people were happy, and I said, and it paid a lot better.
Okay.
So I thought, well, I'll give it a go, and within 3 months, I was bitten.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see quite a lot of talk about ethical selling and why it's important, etc.
Yeah.
And I 100% advocate that. But maybe, what does ethics mean to you as a start point?
Well, that's a great question. So it is a buzzword, but I found lots of people don't really understand it. Ethics to me is about doing good. It's about being good to yourself and everybody that you touch, whether that's customers, colleagues, partners, suppliers, and it's helping everybody to lead a better life. And we all talk about ethical selling without really understanding, which is why I thought, actually, I'm going to go and do this PhD and try and really get a good base around understanding what ethics is, how people make ethical decisions, why people sometimes don't make ethical decisions, with a view to, if I could understand that, then think about how can we help people to improve. Because everybody I meet in sales wants to be a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And interestingly, I mean, the actual research I'm doing is still in its infancy, but early indications are that sales, particularly sales managers, I haven't really come across salespeople in the research, sales managers are actually more ethically aware than the general population or even other professionals. So that's, the results won't be out for another few months, but the early indications are, and it's kind of counterintuitive, but in sales, particularly complex business-to-business selling, we are, the phrase they use is having moral responsibility. And that's going to surprise some people.
I don't think ethical selling is a buzzword, to be fair, but I think it's been talked about a little bit more now than it was 5 years ago, for sure.
Yeah.
Over the evolution of sales, why is that more important now, do you feel, than ever?
Oh, okay. So I think it has always been important. And we used to say people buy from people, and there's still an element of that. I guess we're going to talk at some stage about the impact of AI and stuff like that.
Yes.
So one of my major observations is if you look at it from the customer's point of view, things are more and more and more complex. There is transparency means customers get more information. The nature of AI means that's communicated to them more and more. So it's very hard for them to differentiate. It's very hard for them to sort out news from fake news.
Yeah.
So it actually makes trust more important. If we look at the IT industry and you're selling to IT directors, CIOs, that poor CIO is inundated with stuff and he doesn't know what he can trust. What he does know, he's got some relationships with people he's worked with for a while, with companies he's worked with for a while, and he trusts them. And that's going to be more important to him than, a little bit extra here or another feature there. So paradoxically, because, we've progressed so much, because of transparency, because of AI, the human side of trust is, I believe, becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
And trust is about being trustworthy, and that's ethics.
Yeah. Okay. Now that brings us back nicely. And I know there's no golden ticket to building trust, and I think you just said it there. It's about being trustworthy. But what are kind of the other things that you need to do to demonstrate so people can trust and you build those valued relationships?
Right. Okay. So the tagline is always, if you want to be trusted, be trustworthy.
Yeah.
Which, do the right thing. And that's in many cases difficult, because we have to make choices between what's right for the company, what's right for the customer, what's right for partners. So often it's what's the least worst option, but, constantly doing what's right. I don't know if you've come across the trust equation.
I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah, which is great. That's about credibility, knowing your stuff, reliability, intimacy, which is the personal side of it. And then if you look into that work, about not being self-orientated. So I'm a big believer in, if you're going to be successful in sales, forget about selling, think about buying. Put yourself in the shoes of the customer, and it's not about selling them stuff, it's about getting them to buy from you. So every time, and we build up trust over years, often little simple things like, responding to emails on time, telling the truth about deliveries, whatever it is, and you build it up and build it up. There's a lovely analogy by, I forget the lady's name. She was on Diary of a CEO recently with Steve Bartlett. She talks about the trust jar. It's like putting marbles in the jar.
I have seen that.
So every little thing that you do that builds trust, it just fills up the jar. Now, and it can be destroyed
in one
very
swoop, wasn't it?
Just one sweep.
Yeah.
But it's all those little things, and it's difficult. One of my favourite analogies really is, well, think about what we've all done at the end of a quarter. We've gone to a customer and put some kind of pressure on to get an order in by the end of the quarter.
Yeah.
And we have to do that, and that's business. But whenever we do that, we're destroying a bit of trust.
Yeah.
We're pulling in a few favours. And in business, you do that. But as long as you realise, you do that, and you're saying to the customer, look, this is for me. This is not for you. This is for me. And you just destroy a bit of that trust. And then you do whatever you do to build it up again over time.
What do you see as the kind of the biggest evolution or the biggest change in sales over the last few years? I mean, I think some of this is around that kind of ethical aspects as well.
Yeah, that's coming into it, and clearly the last few years, AI-driven tools are coming to the fore. Things like Salesforce and CRMs are just giving us so much more information, so that's helping. I'd point to maybe two big things that I've seen. One is it's the increasing movement from what I would call push selling to pull selling. So the difference for me is, the old-fashioned pull selling is all about me and my product, and I'm going to ram it down your throat and tell you how great it is. But I think we realised, many years ago, that actually it should be about the customer and, what are their issues in their context, in their situation, and how we solve those problems for them. There's still lots of people practicing that old-fashioned push sell, and just speak features and demo and, hope that some of it's going to stick.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately, I think we're a long way down that line. But that's a big thing that's changing. I also think, for me, my observation is that COVID accelerated this move to much more remote communications. So you just look at some of the stats around how much of our time as sellers we spent face-to-face prior to COVID. Now, there was already a movement to do some interaction electronically, but that's now it's the norm. And that has implications. A lot of it good, but some negatives as well. So how do we get that balance right? And that's changing in different industries and in different cultures. I didn't realise, but if you look at financial services in Europe versus IT sales in the US, very different ways of tackling that.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, or?
Yeah. So in financial services, typically, what I'm seeing, I'm working with a couple of investment banks and people like that, is that they really value the face-to-face.
Yeah.
And again, it's partly because of trust. So you have to travel, you have to get in front of people, you have to go to the conferences. In other cultures, people are not interested. It's they see it as a waste of time. They'd much prefer to spend a 25-minute Teams call, or just send me a one-page email and I'll make a decision. And so it's cultural, and I guess it depends just by the individual almost. But there are certainly trends by industry, by culture.
Yeah, no, I think some of the things I'm seeing is I guess being flexible, but also still maintaining that human connection. And I'm still a big advocate of face-to-face meetings as well, being critical. As well,
No,
especially
I
long-term
think
relationships.
Absolutely, that has to be part of the mix. Certainly for anything complex, and by complex, where there's multiple people on both sides, the buyer-seller side, where the solution is configured somehow rather than just a box. So it's, in transactional selling, maybe we get away with less face-to-face or even no face-to-face. But there's still, people want that human element. They want to think that there is a human being that they can talk to. And we've seen that in B2C. If you look at contact centres, all automated, all driven by chatbots, and that's great, but you need a backstop of a human being.
Yeah.
And it's maybe not because that human being actually has the information, but there are some people who just want that emotional connection.
Yeah. The companies that you're working with, or whether it's through the academic study, what are you seeing as the impact of AI in sales?
So if I make a general comment first, if that's okay. So I think, there's huge impact. We all know that it is changing. It's making, a lot of the functions in selling a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. But again, nobody's really certain of exactly what the roadmap is, what's really going to stick. We know, things like, mass hyper personalisation is a trend.
Yeah.
We know tactical sales coaching, for example. I know Curvo do some of that, and from what I've seen, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's changing the nature of the sales management role, for example. But again, we don't know. So I think one of the big impacts of the kind of revolution we're going through is that people aren't certain. You can't. I don't think any CRO can say in 5 years' time this is what it's going to look like, with a huge degree of certainty. They're thinking, well, probably this, probably a bit of that. So we'll do some pilots. We'll see how it goes. We'll be prepared to adapt as we go along.
Yeah.
So that's what I see the smart sales leaders doing.
Do you see? You reference like personalisation. I think. Do you see that it goes back to that emotional relationship, the human connection? That's going to be more important, but also maybe more of a leaning towards higher technical or knowledge base as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. So, 2 years ago, if I got an email that says, "Hi Steve, hopefully you're well. I see you doing this, that, and the other, and you probably have these challenges," that would have struck me as, "Oh, that's really good." Today I get 20 of those a day, and I know they're all AI generated, and so I just don't look at them. It's just delete, delete, delete.
Yeah.
So the bar is being raised all the time, and it makes it much more difficult for anybody to differentiate, because that AI can do a reasonable job at that level. Above that, when you get to real personalisation, how you do that, maybe AI will just get better and better, but it's kind of a race. I think it's a race to the middle to get good stuff, but then you can't differentiate.
Yeah.
So you either you're in the fortunate position of having some world-beating product that's got some features that everybody wants, but that's not going to last for long.
Yeah.
Or you have real sales craft.
And obviously you're working across multiple companies and organisations. Obviously that inertia, the do nothing, the sort of lack of deal velocity or deals closing, obviously is obviously a big topic we'd see all the time. What are the top 2 or 3 things you're seeing? It can include that one as well, I guess.
Well, in terms of why deals are lost? Or?
No, sorry. In terms of the sales challenges that you're seeing at the moment.
Okay. So, everybody has a challenge with net new business, finding new clients, particularly for new solutions. And again, I think that goes back to a bit of trust. People, what to do about AI is, I think, for CROs a big issue. They don't quite know what's going on. So they know they've got to do something, but don't know exactly what. this whole thing about trust and looking at it from the customer's point of view and how you differentiate in that world. Then lots of tactical things around, how many salespeople do I need, of what flavour, because that's shifting all the time.
Okay. And interesting, if you were going back to your VP sales, CRO type role, what would you do about AI if you were looking at it now?
I think, as we said, I'd be doing lots of experimentation.
Yeah.
There are some clear things. Sales coaching is clear. Looking at the role of the SDR, particularly that initial contact, looking at how we supply information to our account managers.
Yeah.
Years ago, I'd spend a week, looking at company accounts and stuff like that before we launched a campaign. Now, even just a general purpose, ChatGPT can probably give me 2 or 3 pages of all I need to know of the challenges facing that company.
Yeah.
So I'd be doing all kinds of things like that. But one other thing, I just keep reminding myself of some of the basics. Do we provide real value? Are we engaging with human beings? Because it's easy to get caught up in some of this stuff. Yeah. And forget, what is my proposition? Why should somebody buy from me?
Yeah. And obviously you're doing some training or more coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Is of the training and coaching that you've delivered over many different people, are there a few things or top 2 things that you've impacted and you consistently see making a really big impact, whether it be, I don't know, just helping them with discovery, helping them with confidence? Is there 1 or 2 things that have the biggest impact? And I know it's different for every individual.
It is different. I think there's 2 things that I particularly personally specialise in.
Yeah.
I mean, one is, you mentioned account planning and account management. So it's helping people to realise that, as a salesperson, you have to be responsive to the client, to the situation you're in, but you don't want to be reactive. You don't want just to knee-jerk. So it's helping people to say, okay, it's all about understanding where you are, good qualification, good client mapping and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then you deciding what it is you want to achieve and where you want to go, and then figuring out how to get there. So that's about being really proactive. So it's, be responsive, but don't just knee-jerk. If you think, no, the way to do this is, this is the strategy we want to adopt in this account or in this deal, stick to it.
Yeah.
So that's one. It's about thinking ahead, and you not just planning, but you taking control of it yourself rather than just reacting to the customer. The thing that I've spent a lot of time on over the last couple of years, you've probably heard the phrase growth mindset.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Just how important that is, particularly, we go back to AI, and you talk to salespeople in almost any sales team. There are going to be some people who embrace it and are just turned on by the technology. There's probably 1 or 2 people who just say, oh, no, I've been selling like this for 20 years. Why do I need to change? Those people are going to really, really struggle.
Yeah.
And both salespeople and sales managers and companies. So it's not just accepting that change is here, but really embracing it and saying, AI is, it's a tool. It's not an end in itself, but there are some fantastic tools. So let's embrace them, make the most of them, and continually adapt.
Okay.
And that's for me, it's just that mindset. So growth mindset, we all need to keep learning because things are changing. Learning and adapting.
Okay.
And the mindset to put the customer first. Really put the customer first. Really imagine, this is about helping them to buy my stuff. It's not about me selling them stuff.
Yes. And as a matter of interest, like obviously a lot of people you'd be working with maybe have fairly established ways of working. How do you really encourage them that there's a much bigger picture and that really lead them on a kind of bit of a mindset change journey?
Well, like all of us, training and coaching is a bit like selling. It's not about what I do. It's about, the people I'm working with. So it's just helping them to see the options for themselves. So we do a lot of kind of case study work or almost thought experiments. Well, let's imagine, if you did have these AI systems that could do this, this, and this, what does that world look like?
Yeah.
And some people say, well, some people are going to lose their jobs, or okay, that may be the case, but then what are what's the upside as well? And just helping people to imagine it for themselves, and then, as I said, put plans in place for them to make it happen.
Yeah.
So it's not that I have the answers and I'm going to try and convince people. It's just asking some questions to help them come to the best possible answer that they can come to. And it's there is no magic answer. It's different for everybody. It's what I've understood.
Okay. No, thank you, Steve. I've got a couple of sort of big or more general questions just to ask at the end. If you think all of those were sort of smaller questions, but if somebody is newer, entering sales for the first time in their career, disappointing their parents potentially along the way, like what's the kind of the tips that you would give them as they're on this journey?
Well, I don't think parents get as disappointed these days, thankfully. And my parents came round to it eventually.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the biggest tip, I find myself having this conversation with very experienced account managers as well,
right.
is, at the end of any deal, there's going to be some people talking, over Teams or in a room, and somebody like a CFO is going to say, why are we buying this stuff? And you better have a good answer for that. So that's, what is the value? And why are we buying it from these people? So you have to have some clear differentiation. And why are we going to buy it now?
Yeah.
Because all CFOs want to preserve cash or want to preserve flexibility. But, why are we buying this in the first place? Why are we buying it from these guys, and why are we doing it now? And I don't think those are unreasonable questions. If I was a CFO, then I would be asking those. And so, everybody in the buying team needs to be clear about what the answers are. And I think our role as a salesperson, junior or senior, is to help our customers to answer that, so they know, well, we're buying it because it's got this ROI, it's going to impact this, and this. We're buying it from these guys because they, uniquely offer these things.
Yeah.
And why we want to do it now is because, the benefits, the value kicks in at this stage, or there's a window of opportunity or something.
Yes.
There's some. We talk about compelling events and stuff. But
Yeah.
there is something that means that it makes sense for them as a business, and if, as the seller, if you're not clear on what your champion or whoever should be saying to the CFO, how on earth are they going to be clear? Yeah. So make sure that you're clear on the answers to those questions.
Yeah. Interestingly, when you're coaching people, I actually sent some people away to do that as an exercise because they couldn't articulate it and come back. Is that something you'd recommend as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as coaches, we do that. After a while, my clients, I'm sure yours, it's just a tool that they can use. Oh, let's go and spend 5 minutes and just make sure we have clarity on those 3 questions.
Yeah, and it adds value and consequence to the customers that you're speaking to. Yeah,
and you can do the same thing with qualification questions and why is my boss going to accept this forecast and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But for me, the heart is really understanding the customer buying process, the people and what they go through.
Okay, that's superb. Obviously, you've done lots of deals and sales and had lots of good customer relationships, but do you have like a favourite sale that you've achieved in your career?
Oh, I don't know. I'm tempted to say the last one. I signed a new client last week.
That's always a good one, though, isn't
that's
it?
always
the
a good
one.
Maybe the first one. I vividly remember my first real deal. So I'd come out of university and joined this. We were selling accounting software, basically.
Right.
It bound up in what was effectively a PC. And And I was, in those days, knocking on doors around the centre of London. And anyway, after a few months, we'd gone through all this great training. It was wonderful. And they gave you one of these machines in a big box, a PC loaded with accounting software. And they basically said, go away and don't come back until you've got rid of it, which was a great experience. And the way I did it, I teamed up. I had a buddy. We said, well, we'll do this together because it's, you know, traipsing the streets of London with this box that you've got to get rid of. And anyway, after a few days, we did. We got an order for, I think, 6 of them off a printing business in the north of the city.
Okay.
And it was great. And I remember we did the deal in kind of mid-morning one day. And then we went back to the office. Our office was in the West End of London. We were feeling really good.
Yeah, 6 sounds really great.
No, it was a big deal for us at that stage. And we felt really proud. It's kind of the end of the probation period as well. And we walked into the office, and I remember it to this day. And as you walked in through reception, we had a branch manager who had his office and a big glass window on the office. And he saw us coming in, and he said, come over here. And we went into his office, and he said, you boys had a good morning? Yeah. And he said, yeah, I've had a call from the customer.
Right.
And the customer had said, you had 2 brilliant salespeople. They did a great job on me. Yeah, I really liked them. I don't want to get them into trouble, but I want to cancel the order.
Oh, no.
And it turned out, you know, we'd used all the tricks in the book. I think we'd been ethical, but he just basically didn't have a need. Okay. And so he'd agreed. We got him to sign a piece of paper, but on reflection, he just said, I don't have the need. There wasn't a business case there. So, I mean, that taught me so much.
Yeah.
And I take those lessons to this day. Yeah, you can use salescraft and you can use technique and you can get decisions, but actually you need the customer to really want it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was deflated, but I learned a lot from it.
Okay. No, fantastic story. So it feels a bit like... Is it Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness film, which I'd never seen till about 2 years ago. It's really good. He's got some sort of word processor under his arm. He's in desperate need of funds. I'm not saying you were at that time, but
I was. You know, I was just straight out of college.
Yeah, he needed it for him and his son to live. It's quite a deep film. It's actually really quite good. I think it's one of the highest rated IMDb films of all time. So worth a watch at some point. Anyway. So. No, thank you, Steve. That's a fantastic story. You mentioned a couple of books and obviously your own book as well. Is there a particular book that you found career-changing or that you'd want to recommend other than your own? Which
well, hopefully you'll put a link to my own book.
We will do, yes.
Yeah. To say there's one, can I mention 2 or 3? Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. That'd be helpful.
So... going back to consultative selling, I still go back to spin selling.
Yeah, it's my favourite, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people think it's old-fashioned, but it's there's still so much in there. And, you know, even, when did it come out? In the 80s, I guess, early 80s? I don't know. Yeah. But there's still people gaining so much from it today because it really does embody that, you know, focus on the customer. So spin selling...
and it's research. Scientifically based, which might appeal to your academic mindset as well, to be fair.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
But it was one of the very first books which was actually based on real research. And there's loads of sales books, but it's all just opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can go back even further. I still have a copy of How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Oh, right.
By Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
I mean, this is classic stuff, but it's amazing how it goes. The frame maker sale from Brent, which has just come out. In fact,
right.
I only got my physical copy about a month ago in the UK. So that again is based on research. That's really fascinating. I I could go on.
Okay, no, that
The Growth Mindset
growth mind, yeah.
by Carol Dweck. That's that's really valuable. I'm okay, you're okay, which is pretty much what it says, but that again goes into consultative selling and ethics about feeling good about yourself, but also feeling good about the people you're working with, particularly your customers.
Okay, superb. Some great ones there. What we'll do is we'll tag those in the link at the end of the podcast. So really been excellent having you on, Steve. Some fantastic insights. We'll look out for the new book and the research. I think that will be really fascinating. I think I was going to ask you had any sort of particular amusing anecdotes or funny stories, but I don't know if you've done that already with your first deal. That was quite a good one.
I think I'll leave it at that. Everything else is
it's going to be quite difficult to trump that story. But no, thank you very much for your time. It's been great meeting up with you again. And where can people get in contact with you? Sorry,
probably best through LinkedIn. Just Steve Hoyle, and I'm always anxious to talk to people to understand what's going on. So please just get in touch for a chat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, thank you for joining us here on Funnel Vision. Thank you.
Cheers.